How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the movie Castle, and today we're going to be talking about Murder Party. Murder Party is a movie from 2007 and is directed by Jeremy Saulnier and stars Chris Scharp. Now, Jeremy Saulnier, you guys might know from a movie he would do later called Green Room. Green Room achieved a lot of mainstream success. It had Patrick Stewart and Anton Yelchin in it, but Green Room was actually part of a conceptual trilogy called the Inept Protagonist Trilogy, where in these movies all the protagonists are not really great at being horror movie protagonists, you know. I mean, they're fun and interesting characters, but when it's time for them to fight or escape a bad situation, they might not know the best way to go about it. But anyway, the Inept Protagonist Trilogy is this movie, Murder Party, then Blue Ruin, and then Green Room would be the third one. So we're going to go ahead and cover Murder Party now, because it's a Halloween movie, and all season long, all October long rather, I'm covering Halloween movies, and not just horror movies in general, but movies that actually take place at Halloween time, the Halloween season. And I can't really, I can't believe it, but this is the last week of that for now, because October is already winding up. This weekend we got Halloween coming, and I can't believe it. It feels like I've done a good amount of these reviews, but I can't believe Halloween is already almost here. But, you know, hey, this is a horror movie channel primarily. I do other things too. So we'll probably see more Halloween movies before next October rolls around. I can think of a few that are probably going to sneak into November. So keep an eye out for that. More horror movies, as always. But anyway, let's just jump right into this. I'll do a little bit of a plot synopsis without spoiling anything, but I do want to give you guys an idea of what this movie's about. You get this guy named Chris. He's an average Joe type character, and yes, Chris, and then the lead actor's name is Chris, kind of a low-budget movie thing that happens a lot. He's an average Joe, and he's really a nice guy, but kind of a pushover. Like, the cat sits on his chair, and he doesn't even have the heart to get it to move out of the chair, you know? So the cat wins in that situation. But it's Halloween night for him, and he doesn't really have any big plans. He goes to the store and rents some VHS tapes because, you know, it's 2007. He rents some VHSs, 3 horror movies, and he's going to plan on sitting in his chair, watching his horror movies, and eating some candy corn, and that's how he's going to spend Halloween, you know. Nothing big. But on his way home, invitation is blowing across the ground in the wind, and it blows right up to him, and he opens it up. It's an invitation to a Halloween party called Murder Party. So yeah, the movie's title is literally right there in the story. And he's like, well, I have nothing to do for Halloween. I really should go out and go to a party. So he goes, and he actually gets the box his old Halloween costume was stored in, and cuts it up and turns it into a suit of armor. You can see it on the front there a little bit. But yeah, he makes a cardboard suit of armor, dresses up like a knight, as the back calls it, the brown knight costume. He dresses up as a knight, and he goes to the location the party's supposed to be held at. Now he goes there and he finds it's a creepy, old-looking warehouse type thing. And he's like, oh, I don't know if this is the right place. But he goes in, and there are a few people partying there. And so it's kind of an awkward situation where you don't know anyone, and you're kind of in this small party, and you're like, oh hey, I got pumpkin spice bread. How's it going? So it's a little awkward there, but it gets a little worse than being a little awkward, because after being at the party for a little bit, he gets tied up, and he finds that the people who invited him to the party actually plan on killing him. Now, you see, the group of people that are there are a bunch of artists, and they've been challenged by this guy to kidnap someone and kill him as part of an experimental performance art piece. Now, they each have their own ideas of how this can best be done to impress the critic, and wanting to do different things and trying to make the most of it, because this art critic that's coming over has access to thousands and thousands of dollars in grant money. So they're all doing this for the money to support their art. And it's a pretty interesting and weird group of people. You get a bunch of people, they're all serious about their art, and they have different plans, and you get some wacky characters. You get this one guy who's really good at art, but is in general disinterested in a lot of things. You get a kind of a happy-go-lucky girl actually dressed up like one of the replicants from Blade Runner, and you get this guy that's way too affectionate towards her, and this other guy that's way too serious about his art. A fun group of people, but this also turns into a really biting satire of the group. They call this the inept protagonist trilogy, because the protagonist, yes, is inept, but the thing that surprised me with this movie is, so are the antagonists. There's no one in this story that is really good at what they're trying to do. In fact, there are things that prove quite beneficial to the protagonist that he has nothing to do with. It's just these antagonists can't seem to get it together, and they all have their own ideas about what they should do, and they kind of clash all the time. But anyway, so there's fighting in the group, and these people are clashing, and I do want to say, as someone who's been to college, that I do know the non-murdery versions of all these people. As I was watching the movie, I was like, that girl's like this other girl that I knew in real life, and this guy's like this guy, and I could point at each one of these characters and say, yeah, I know a version of that character, although admittedly not the horror movie version. So yeah, these were relatable, and when it gets into the satire and the jokes they tell about these characters, I could always say, yeah, that makes sense, and it made it quite biting. But anyway, they tie him up, they wait around, and the man with the grant does eventually show up, and they all want to win his affection. They all want them to be the person that gets the grant. Now, he shows up with his drug dealer, who has a gun, so the situation immediately gets a little more violent. But the person with the grant decides they should kill him at the witching hour, midnight, on Halloween night. So they're waiting for a while, they're trying to impress the guy, and it gets to be a pretty straight comedy at this point. You know, with comedy horror, it always wonders where it's going to be on the scale, and throughout this part of the movie, it definitely yields more towards comedy. For the people that want more of the horror side, this second act here isn't going to have too terribly much horror in it. I mean, there's a scene where they're on truth serum and they're all just making puns for a while, which is funny, but for those of you who want blood and guts, you know, this second segment may not be the most for you, but of course, eventually it's going to turn into the fight for his life, and I will say that when it gets to this third act, the action picks up, the horror picks up, and it became kind of what I thought it was going to be the whole movie, but then again, the part of the movie that wasn't what I thought it was going to be was actually a lot funnier than I thought it would be. So that's sort of the thing with this movie is, for most of it, for like 2/3 of it, it is more on the straight comedy side, and it is really, really funny. I mean, at times I was thinking it felt like, say, King of the Hill made a horror movie or something, especially the way it treats these faux intellectuals from the college campus. And it was really funny, but if you want the straight-up horror, you gotta wait till the third act to really dive into that, even though there are elements of it throughout the other parts of the movie. But anyway, another thing worth mentioning is this is a super low-budget movie, and you can tell from a few things that happen, you know, like, say, the fact that most of this movie is set in like a basement warehouse type area that, you know, whenever you see one-room location movies, you can usually tell that, okay, this is pretty low budget, and the fact that most people in this movie aren't, you know, giant name actors. And even though you can tell it's a low budget movie, it never really worked against it. And I always have to give creators major props when they don't really have much money and they can still get their vision across. So really good that they made something this great without having terribly much money, and it's really cool, got that low budget charm. But overall, if you want to see more of a comedy, I definitely recommend it. You know, it's got a good surprise chuckles a few times. Now, I don't really want to go through and try to tell the jokes or spoil any of that, so you're going to have to see it for yourself. But I definitely think this is going to be one of those movies that will pick up steam over time. I mean, it's 2007, so it's already a little old, but this movie, actually, a whole bunch of copies of it recently got put up at the Dollar Tree, and I think that wave of new fans picking this movie up might really start to push the cult status. On the back, there's a quote from Bloody Disgusting, a midnight movie classic in the making, and I think this is definitely one that has a cult following, but over time is going to build a bigger and bigger one. So anyway, yeah, if you want more of a comedy on the comedy horror side, I definitely recommend checking it out. It's pretty funny, and overall I had a really good time with it. I'm definitely going to check out Blue Ruin and Green Room later. Anyway, that being said, I do about 95% horror on this channel, so to those of you who are interested in that, I definitely recommend checking it out. To everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching, and to everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll put a relevant playlist at the bottom. That should be the Halloween playlist. And we got 2 more Halloween reviews. They're kind of obvious picks, but I'm really glad to be doing them. So yeah, Halloween playlist if you want to watch a bunch more Halloween holiday movie reviews. Anyway, I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Have a good day.